Good evening, Facebook family. How are you tonight? I just want to welcome you to another episode of Marriage Mondays with Nick and Trina Brinson. Just want to thank y'all for tuning in with us tonight before people start to come in, and we just like to say that we really appreciate the people that come in and tune in with us every Monday night to see what thus God has to say about relationships and marriages. And we just want to continue to thank you for doing that with us. Um, and just welcome here with us tonight.
So we represent Crown Kingdom Cultural Center, where our pastor is Bishop Finus Bush Jr. And our lovely lady of the house is Lady Denise Bush. So we just want to always give reverence to them, and partnering with them in ministry is why we're here. The reason we're here is we're an extension of the church ministry, but we also want to reach out to people even beyond our church walls, just to the body of Christ in general, and to be of assistance to anybody that needs it in reference to marriage. So with that said, can you turn that light off, please? My eyes can't take that today. But we encourage thank you, anybody who, well, I apologize if the lighting is too dim, y'all. I just can't do it today. Trying to keep this headache at bay. So share with whoever you think might benefit from it or might be interested in this type of information. Hello to our first few folks coming in, Deacon Charles Brown, and to Pastor Emily Anderson, Minister Emily Anderson, I should say, my lovely mother. So as more people come in, we'll just encourage you to reach out and share, maybe post it to your page or something so that more people can join in. We have a good topic tonight. I think it's necessary.
Right.
Definitely necessary. If you've seen the heading of this post, which is dating is not optional. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, is just how important dating is in marriage, and give you some ideas of how to go about making dating an active part of your relationship.
Yep.
All right. Miss Ann has joined us. Ann Wilson, thank you so much for your presence. So we've got people trickling in.
Yeah, they are tonight. Brother Charles Brown, he came in. He was the first one in tonight. Appreciate you there, Brother Brown. Thank you for tuning in with us. And me and him, since he's the chairman of our deacon board and I'm one of the deacons at our church, me and him have had several conversations about dating and why is it still important to do it as a married couple. And we're going to get into some of that tonight, the dating aspect of marriage, which is very, very important.
Yeah.
So with that said, it's almost 5 out there, and that's kind of where we like to start the show and the lesson in about 5 minutes after. So why is dating important in your marriage? Why is that? What do we talk about?
Well, it's important. It's an important part of the courtship, or you're getting to know each other prior to a relationship. Vast majority of people wouldn't dare marry somebody without dating them, and through that dating process is where you learn to you spend time together, you bond, you get to know each other, and that is where you started, and that's a critical part of building that relationship between the two of you, is to continue spending that type of time together. So often when people get married, they forget how important it is to build their friendship, to build the intimacy between each other, and to be intentional with that level of bonding. It's not just about, the household and the kids and jobs and those things that get added into the equation when you get married. It's also about maintaining that the way that you've learned to build your bond, the things that attracted you two together. Why did you enjoy spending so much time with that person prior to it? And if you don't ever get to see that part of that person anymore because you're not dating, then you're not nurturing your relationship.
Right. And the thing about it is, when you're dating in your marriage relationship, one way to not look over each other or to look past each other is to do the dating part of marriage. Because like she was saying, you can get so caught up in your jobs, in your children, in your day-to-day routine that you kind of forget about each other. And dating actually helps to break that monotony in you, and it encourages the bonding, the continual bonding between you and your spouse, even when your children are young. It might be a good investment to hire a babysitter or to get somebody, a close friend, to take care of your kids while you're out for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. Or you can get with a couple and y'all can exchange date nights. One couple can stay with the children 1 week, another couple can stay with the children the next. You got to do things to create the bonding between you and your spouse. Because one day when the children leave the house, it's just going to be y'all there anyway. So still continue to create your relationship.
Yeah, dating is important because it makes you focus on each other. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you can use that time together so that you are actually focused on each other and not on some of the other things, but that you use that time of dating to really encourage your connection with each other, to build it and make it go farther. That actually gets so neglected in a lot of relationships. And by that, what I'm referring to is the bonding that happens during the dating process. It shouldn't end with marriage. You're just at the beginning.
Right. So as we continue to talk about the dating aspect of marriage, let's talk about some of the guidelines you should follow. And these are some of the guidelines that we follow when we go on our date nights. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Or that we endeavor to follow. Because, we're not going to tell you we're doing something that we're not.
Right.
And some of these we need to add to our own date nights. We are very consistent with date night. And we can talk about frequency.
Yeah, we can talk about it. The frequency of date nights, some of y'all might have asked, how often should you go out? For us and where we are in our lives, we have children that can stay at home by themselves. So we've taken on going on a date night every week.
But is that why?
I think so. Because we were able to do it. And that's what we decided to do. It was a decision we made.
It was, but I don't think it had as much to do with the kids as it had to do with the fact that we needed time to bond.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, I don't think it was because of the age of the kids. Because honestly, where there's a will, there's a way.
But it did make it easier for us to do it.
It did. It made it a lot easier when they could stay home, with each other. And we had a camera in the house when we first started. So it was easy for them. It kind of gave a sense of security to them as well, for them to be in the house without us. So we've been, for the last good few years, we endeavored to have a date night every single week. And the reason we did that was because we got so far away from the bonding that comes with dating and building that part of the relationship. So we had to go back and kind of restore that. And so having those weekly date nights was a way for us to kind of regain strength and momentum in our relationship. And we just got to where we enjoyed them. And so we've continued. It's been
about 3 years.
At least
3.
At least. Prior to that, we were a little more sporadic. We were trying to do, once a quarter, to do a trip or whatever. And that we weren't consistent with that. So we just found that for us, weekly date nights work. And we have to be flexible with that. Depending on what else is going on in our lives. But we do not automatically use that as something that can always be bumped.
And the reason we were doing it a quarter, cause as the marriage directors at our church, we were having activities once a quarter. So it turned out to be a date night along with some of the church members, but then we needed to have that time with each other. So we would do something like real big for the church every quarter, but then we were in between those times. We started
doing things for
ourselves.
Right.
So it became one of those things where it was good for us, and when we did things, it gave us ideas about what we can do for other couples.
Right.
So that's why we do what we do. Now,
and I will say for younger marriages, I think it's more important to have frequent date nights. the younger you are in your relationship. It just kind of builds a guard or some guardrails, some protection, so you don't have room for gaps to get in there as you're building your relationship. You're staying connected. And so, as a young couple, if you've been married less than, I would say, 5-7 years or less, you really should be having a date, like I would say no less than twice a month. And I think weekly is not unreasonable if you choose to make it that much of a priority, but certainly at least twice a month. Because if you think about it, when you were dating, you was trying to get with that person at least once a week.
At least once.
At least one day on the weekend, if you didn't live in the same city or something, or just depending on whatever your situation was. But you certainly weren't going to let a week go by without, having some type of date, even if it's just cuddling on the sofa watching a movie. But you think about it, when you were dating, you never went that long without having that type of contact with your partner. And so when you get married, it's not good to just let that end. And then you think that because you're living in the house together and because you're
seeing them every day,
seeing each other every day, that does not replace the type of bonding that happens when you're actually dating. So really, the younger your marriage is, the more important that you have continuity in your dating. As your relationship becomes more solid, you can space it out a little more if it's not going to cause a problem for you. Like I say, for us, we found out that was something that was important for us to stay connected, was to have frequent date nights. And so you have to kind of figure, like we tell you with anything, you got to figure out what works for you. But we want to give you some ideas, and we just want to really highlight the concept of dating for tonight, so that it gives you something to think about, something to strengthen your relationship in reference to. Let's talk about what are some of the guidelines that we would recommend for when you have date night.
When you have date night, one of the guidelines is turn off that phone.
No cell phone.
Turn it off.
Yeah. You could have your cell phone with you, but you should not be
focused.
Both sitting there scrolling or typing or, trying to talk to each other. One person looking at the phone or, put your phone away. Put your phone away and have some conversation. Focus on each other.
Yeah, break that bond with that phone for that amount of time that y'all are out together. Y'all need to break that bond with that phone and focus on each other. I mean, it may be something y'all need to look up, the menu, because now, during the COVID period, they have menus that are that you can look up digitally on your phone, and they don't have touch menus in some restaurant. So you can use the phone to do something like that. But as far as use and going through your social media channels to see who's doing what and how they're doing it and when they're doing it, that's not necessary for that time. When you get home that night, depending on what y'all like to do after your date night, you may have time to look at your phone. But from that point when y'all are on a date, turn it off.
Yeah, focus on each other. If you have kids, though, that are home, I understand you don't want to be totally disconnected, but you only need one person's phone on. And you could also set your phone so that you only get alerts from the babysitter. You can go into your contacts and choose. You could set your phone on Do Not Disturb except for, and choose those numbers. Most cell phones have that option. And it would be worth your time to figure out how to do that on your phone and set it so that you're only getting an alert if it's super important, meaning it has something to do with your children. Or, if you got somebody, sick parent or something, maybe that. But make it a priority to focus on each other during that time together.
Right.
So that's one rule, is no cell phones or limited cell phone use.
Number 2, take turns planning the date.
Yeah.
This works out well for us when we do things that the other person likes to do. Meaning we figured out that we've been doing this so long that we pretty much got an idea what the other person will and won't do. And that right there took a little experimental dating when we were asked to plan a date for the other person about plan a date for them. How did we do that?
I don't know, because I misunderstood the directions. It was a bus.
It was terrible. It was terrible. So I'm saying that to go down this road to say this. Make sure the date is something that you know that other person would like to do, but instead of them having the energy and putting in the energy to think about it, you take your turn to put in some time to think about the date you want to go on.
So what we're saying is take turns planning the dates.
Mm-hmm.
Now for us, we take turns paying also.
Right.
And so and we don't really say, well, oh, I spent $50 on this date, so you don't spend. It doesn't matter about the amount. What we do is if it's his week, he chooses what we want to do. Sometimes we talk about it back and forth and we decide where we want to go. Usually we do. But whatever we decide, he pays for it when it's his week. When it's my week, then we switch it up and I pay for it. And I may choose or make the final decision about where we go. So that's something we do. It kind of keeps it from being, where only one person is responsible for planning and getting the money together for it. It just makes it a little bit, it's nice to be treated. And so it's nice to sometimes go out and, I don't even have to take my purse on myself. I'll just leave it all at home. Just go, and then knowing that he's got it and vice versa. So that's an idea, is to take turns planning. Depending on how adventurous you are, you can leave it in your partner's hands for them to plan everything from top to bottom. You can get as adventurous as you want to with it. You can plan a big elaborate date if you choose to, or try a new activity. And if your partner's up for that, I don't like those kind of surprises too much, but some people do. And you can, you might decide you want to do indoor skydiving or, just something very different and kind of out of the box, depending on where your relationship, how, who your mate is.
Right.
Then you can incorporate those things too, just to keep it interesting. So it's not always just dinner and a movie.
And see, that's part of what we're talking about with the date night. You learn that kind of information from your partner when you go on these date nights. Mm-hmm. You learn real quick what they like, what they do not like, what they, the kind of scene, do we want to go into a restaurant, now, or do we want to eat outside? Do we just want to go buy the food and go somewhere and eat it, like at a park or something? These are the things you learn with the person that you have decided to marry. Mm-hmm. And to spend the rest of your life with, because you want to get it to that point where it's enjoyable.
Right. Or even you may even, one person might decide they're going to cook for the other person, and maybe you eat outside or, take that to a park or somewhere. Do something different. If you have small children, I would encourage you to still have a sitter if you're going to have a date night at home, because you don't want to be getting up and down, with the kids, or especially if you have a small baby, they will need some attention. You might think they're in their sleep, but they could be in there jumping in the crib or getting greased down with Vaseline. We had that happen a couple times. So you just want to be focused on each other. So that's the whole point, is for you to spend time not having to worry about being interrupted. And if you know you're going to be tempted to, if you hear the baby cry, to go see about the baby when you already got somebody to take care of, then go somewhere outside of your home. Do something different. Make it something special. And you're making memories with each other too.
Right. Third guideline. So we've covered no cell phones, take turn planning your date. The third one is decide which topics are off limits on your date.
You're right.
Because you want the date to be peaceful
and
enjoyable. You don't want to bring up something that's going to cause ill feelings or cause an intense moment of fellowship. Mm-hmm. You want the date to go as smooth as possible.
That's not the time for conflict resolution on a date. So if there's a conflict between the two of you, you're going to have to be able to put that aside, set a date and time to deal with it, and let date night be date night. Let the focus of your date night be each other and the fact that you're bonding and doing something fun together. The next one is that the next point we want to tell you about guidelines would be to dress nicely. Just because you see the person and you see them getting dressed don't mean that you can't dress and look nice, just like if you knew, he was coming to pick you up at your house. You put in a lot of effort to get your hair right, your makeup, your clothes and everything. And so do the same. Even though you're in the same house, take some time to make sure that you look nice for your spouse. You're going to be looking and focusing on each other. So give them something to look at and focus on.
Yeah, for me, just a little side note here. When you're talking about dressing nice, I had a whole bunch of coaching clothes. Very nice polos and
No,
all that kind of stuff. And
they
it was
weren't
really
nice.
nice
They weren't nice.
stuff.
They weren't
It
nice.
was Nike, it
Mm-mm.
was Adidas. But what happened on the dates, and she brought this to my attention, I'm like, no. What happened on the dates is we will be out and I will be ordained with whatever city I'm coaching for with those clothes, with whatever emblem or insignia of that city. And people will actually come up and have a conversation with me about the football, the basketball, the baseball, and it will actually interfere with our dates. So that's one reason I decided to change and start dressing better and nice for our date nights.
And I appreciate that.
Right. Y'all see that face?
I ain't gonna throw you no shade. I got plenty of stuff I could say, but I'm not gonna say it.
And it took me a while to get there because I thought my coaching clothes was nice. And it's been within the last 2 years
It's been more than that. You've done pretty well. But it took a long time to get out of that habit. If we're not going to play basketball, why are you wearing clothes that look like you go playing basketball? Why are you wearing the name of your school on your shirt so that people can walk up and talk to you about the football season? And they just sitting there yucking it up as if I'm not there trying to have a date.
See, these were the growing pains that I've had to mature to. And I did. So, when I go out now, I'm not ordained with anything, so that people can see where I work at or the coaching. So that's been our growth. That's been my growth, and I think she's enjoyed that.
I have. You dress very nicely for our date nights every week, and I appreciate that. You look lovely when you dress or handsome.
And that basically leads us into this next topic. Make sure your spouse is the focus, because it's hard to focus on them when you got extracurricular conversation going on with other people.
No, you can't.
You can't.
You can't. And when somebody else comes along and is wanting to have a conversation with your spouse while you're sitting there trying to talk or do whatever you're doing, eating, that makes your spouse the third wheel.
Right.
And it's just not the time. And so I think it's okay to speak to people, but you can't let them have that time that you have designated to spend with your spouse. That has to be a priority.
It does.
And sometimes you have to tell, oh, it's good to see you. Let me get back to enjoying my wife. Or, I'm just here enjoying some time with my husband. I'll talk to you at work, or girl, I'll call you later. But get them on out of there. They're not a part of this.
No.
You have to prioritize your time and your focus on date night. Let it be something special for both of you.
So just a recap of the guidelines. These are just 5 things that we do and that we've thought of that can help you enjoy your date night. No cell phones. Take turns planning your date. Decide which topics are off limits. Dress nicely and make your spouse the focus. Right. Those are things that we've just thought about and was given to us by God, and we just want to help you manage your date nights.
Right. So we also want to share with you some ideas, because it can get to be a challenge. You can kind of get in a rut of doing the same type of date night every time you go out, and that's not what you want. You want it to be something fun. You want it to be, like I said, making good memories together. And so we want to share a few ideas with you. Do you want to start with what we have written, or you want to start with our props?
We can start with what's written.
Okay, so a few ideas, and we've done quite a few of these.
Right.
A picnic. I don't know what's a better name. I don't particularly like the name picnic. Nope. But maybe an outside meal in nature. And we have done that, and we've had some really good dates that were actually eating outside. I think the last time we did it was a few months ago. And of course, with COVID, it kind of lends to this idea.
Right.
So we went and picked up the food we wanted from one restaurant. We picked up the dessert we wanted did we go to Boll Weevil and got
for the dessert? Yeah.
Yeah, and so we got a nice dessert that we wanted, and so then we took our food items, and we had packed a tablecloth and something to hold the tablecloth down because the wind blows, and we went out to what's it called?
Down
Um,
to the
River
river.
Watch.
Yeah.
River Watch. Yeah, they have tables out there. Y'all know, if y'all live in Augusta, I know you know what we're talking about. But that was just a nice public spot. It was open. And so we set it up, and people were passing by like, wow, this is, what are y'all celebrating?
Like, nah, we just
We were just having a regular date night, just enjoying being together. So, and it inspired other people. I mean, it had to be what, 5 or 6 groups of people that stopped by to talk to us because they thought what we were doing was something. They thought we had, something special going on. It wasn't a special occasion. We just took the time to plan how we want to do our date. And I mean, we had good conversation, and it was nice. We were out there by the river, had good food, and it was just a nice Friday afternoon.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so that was a good idea. Outdoor meal or picnic. Taking a walk.
We've done that several times.
Yeah, I don't consider that a date, though, to be honest. I mean,
well, for people that don't take walks together, it could be. It could be a place to start. Learn how to spend time with one another.
Well, and I guess if you're really an outdoor person, even something like cycling or doing some kind of outdoor activity,
exercising together,
just make sure that you're not always spending all of your time in the activity. Make sure that you have time where you can sit and talk, or even if you're walking, but talking as well, so that you're able to bond or hold each other or sit together, whatever it is that makes you feel good, particularly if you're and you do have to factor in what makes your spouse feel loved. And so if it's physical touch, then you may want to plan something to where you're able to sit together, hold each other, or do whatever you do to feel close to each other.
Right.
You want to do the next one?
What's that? Eat at a new place.
Yeah.
I always try new foods and see how you like them. It's one of those things where the experience is what's going to get the camaraderie between you and the other person. Right. Whether the food is good or not, that's a place you can choose not to go back to again, and you don't learn. But if the food is great, y'all can make that one of y'all places that y'all like to eat at and put it in the rotation. We have several places we love to go eat at.
Yeah.
And we put them in rotation. When something is a bust or something we didn't plan well and we didn't make it to the restaurant on time, we always got a couple that we can fall back on and go eat at.
And even if you go to a restaurant and you don't like the food, that's still a memory you have together.
Right.
If you may have planned this, like I think it might have been the girls. I don't think it was with you. We tried some Indian food, and that just was not something we enjoyed, but it certainly gave us some memories around it. So the whole idea is for bonding, even if you got to come back home and eat or pick up McDonald's or Burger King on the way home. But the idea is just to have a good time being together, making it fun. Another couple easy ideas would be to go bowling, to go skating, something like that. Just depending on what your interests are.
Go do activities where you can create something together.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
we've done
activities too. And one that I really enjoyed here within the last year or so was when we went to a cake decorating class, I guess you can call it. It was cake decorating, and we made a wonderful cake, and we had a good time doing it together. And it's also a learning lesson too, between you and your spouse about taking turns and sharing and giving your input and idea about design and how things should go in what order you should do it in.
Compromise.
You got to compromise what we want to do.
Yeah,
and we got a few examples of those.
So this was, I don't know if y'all can see it. This was one such project we did. This was, trying to see if we put the date on it. For our 18th anniversary. It's backwards, the writing is. So we did this I think we did this in Atlanta. And so do I have it turned the wrong way?
Right there.
So it's supposed to be like a close-up of a flower, just, those edges, and we put up here, grace is enough for the Brinson, because we felt like that was kind of where we were, or that's a running theme for us. God's grace really is enough. And so we keep this in our bedroom so we can see it and just constantly be reminded of it. Another project that we did, hit myself in the face. And y'all have to excuse the tear. We still never got a story on which kid did that or how it happened. We will never know. But this was the first project we did together. We were at a rough place in our marriage too. But this was for our 10th wedding anniversary. We wanted to do something together. I think Bishop Bush is the one that suggested we do something, create something together. I think was the motivation for this. So this was another piece of artwork that we did together. And we came up with those words, love and faith, endlessly, because that's what we were trying to do.
That was life.
Yeah, we were
that was life for us back then.
We was trying to learn to love each other in faith, because that's what we had to lean on at that time was faith. And so this we keep actually in our bathroom. We kind of use it as a we'll put little coins and keys and things like that in the bathroom, so it stays in front of us and we're constantly reminded of that. And so those two things we've done. And this we did as a marriage ministry project.
Yeah. So we can put it together.
Yeah, it was what was it, sip and paint or bites and brushes, something like that. And so we organized it for marriage ministry. And we did it with a few other couples that came along. Some of the couples watching might have been at this event. And so this is what they gave us step-by-step instructions on how to create the painting. And pull it down a little bit so y'all can see it.
I think it's called Lovebirds.
Yeah. And so we all did the same painting, but as you can see, it's two separate canvases. And so each of us started out with one particular canvas, following instructions. And at some point during the process of painting, they had us to switch canvases. So each of us worked on each half. And so putting the two together, it comes together as one piece, but it really is the work of, we individually worked on both sides.
Right.
And so, I'm trying to remember, there was a point in there where you had to kind of pick up where your spouse left off. And so you kind of had to be on the same page throughout that process. So it was a good activity. Now our children couldn't believe how good our work was. They told us we were holding out on them with their school projects. We never did anything that good for them. But it was because we had instructions and we were doing it together. So we really enjoyed that. So I'm sure there's a few couples out there that attended that event. I'm just trying to remember who was there. I think Tori and Samika came to that event. They have one too. I can't remember who all was there. But that's an idea as well. So a painting, there's I know here in Augusta they have paint parties all the time. And they even have it now to where you can do it online, like you order your supplies and you get them in the mail, and on a specific date you tune into a Zoom class or a Zoom meeting, and they give the instructions and you have all the materials at your house. So that's something that could potentially be done as a date night too. And when you create something together and you have it in your home, it's a constant reminder of that particular date that you had.
And just looking at some of the comments, Brother Charles Brown said they go to Greenwood to the drive-in.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Drive-in movie, yeah. Yep. That's a good idea.
All right.
Yeah, y'all. If y'all give us some other ideas, because y'all never know, people, may need these ideas to help them. Another one is, of course, water sports. If you're into that, or even if you're curious about it, maybe both of you try it at the same time. Try it together, and you may find that might be something that you both enjoy. You might find it's something that's not for you. But either way, you're making memories and doing something fun together. You can take a class together, like we did the cake decorating class. Yep. That was fun. And even building something together. We don't work well together, building things together. That wouldn't be a fun date for us. But for some people, if that's something that the two of you do together well, then maybe consider buying something that you have to put together. Or if you're handy enough to do it from scratch, to do that. It just depends on whatever floats your boat, what works for the two of you.
Right. So that's our presentation for tonight. As far as, why date night is really not an option in your marriage.
Make it a priority.
So continue to strive to make it a priority in your marriage. You may start with one date a month, one date a quarter, one date a year.
No.
You got to go at least once a month.
At least once a month.
Okay.
We're not even gonna back that up.
But we gotta, you gotta do it. It's one of the things you gotta do for the benefit of your marriage.
It's necessary.
All right.
No matter how long you've been married, dates are necessary to have that time together.
All right. You got any closing statements?
No, I just hope it was helpful to someone, and that you'll take the information and put it to good use to make your marriage stronger.
All right. With that said, from the lady and the coach, we love y'all. Good night.
Good night.